By now you've watched our earlier video that talks about why you should outsource your print and mail services as a healthcare provider. If you haven't, that's okay. Just know that it saves you a lot of money and time. Gaining time alone is a huge driving factor considering 1 in 4 doctors work 60 to 80 hours every single week. So I laid out that the figurative light at the end of the tunnel is having a trusted partner who prints and delivers your invoices to your clients. So how do we get there? Well, the process of finding the right patient statement services isn't any different than evaluating other vendors that could help your practice. That's not a surprise. What isn't obvious though is knowing what features, services, and added benefits to look for when you're meeting with these organizations. This industry is no different when it comes to their sales demonstrations though. They'll throw a bunch of jargon at you throughout their presentation in order to sound like their services are better than all the other vendors out there. The end result though is confusion and frustration. You've never looked into outsourcing your print and mail services before, so how are you supposed to know what a dunning message is after all? Hi everyone, I'm Matt from eTactics, and today I'm going to explain how to find the perfect patient statement services vendor for your organization. Before we get started though, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel by clicking that button below. While you're down there, hit that alert bell icon next to it as well, so when we post new helpful content, you get notified. The number one most important feature to look for when you're evaluating a patient statement services vendor is their customization capabilities. Let's face it, when you outsource your delivery process to a business partner in any capacity, you're losing some control. In other words, you're not going to have as much say over how everything looks because the vendor has a set amount of templates to choose from. However, that doesn't mean you should sacrifice the way your bills look entirely. Yes, you're saving yourself and your staff time by not having to worry about designing each individual bill for your patients. But you still want them to reflect your organization's branding. If you choose a statement services vendor and what they send to your clients looks mass-produced, your clients will have a hard time realizing that what they received was from your practice. Thus, you'll have a harder time collecting from them. 80% of people read every piece of mail they receive before throwing anything away. But if your vendor sends anything like this picture on your behalf, you have a problem on your hands. Your patient statement services vendor should have a library of updated dynamic templates for you to choose from. Once you've selected the template you want them to use, you should have the capability of switching out your branding and logo within those templates. That way, your patients know their bill is from you and it stands out in that pile of mail that they go through on a daily basis. After you've evaluated their customization capabilities, you need to evaluate how they deliver your statements. Printing and mailing your bills is an obvious service that each organization you evaluate should have. However, 78% of patients say they would use an online method to access their information from their doctor, according to a health survey. When sending bills on your behalf, does the vendor also provide an electronic presentment option? Can they provide your clients with their bills via a secure link sent to their email? Once their bill is ready, do they also have the ability to send the secure viewing link via text messages? Sending bills through the mail is still commonplace, but that doesn't mean that your clients don't have any other preferences. 65% of consumers prefer to receive their bills through a combination of both online and paper. As a result, your patient statement services vendor should provide your clients with multiple delivery method capabilities. More importantly, they should be able to allow your clients to choose. Okay, let's say that the vendor you're evaluating offers adequate customization capabilities and delivery options. Let's say you went with the organization without doing much further digging. At this point, you're integrated with them, the first month rolls around with their services, and everything gets sent out, no problem. A couple months go by and you notice you haven't received any payments from the state of Florida. Confused, you call the United States Postal Service, or USPS, because you know that's where your business partner goes to deliver their mail. After waiting on hold for 30 minutes, the USPS representative tells you that there's no tracking information because they don't have an intelligent mail barcode or IMB on your statements. In other words, you spent all this time working with your new vendor to integrate and design your bills, but you can't predict your revenues because of the lack of tracking capabilities placed on your statements. My point after all this is that the best patient statement service providers are those that not only provide a unique IMB codes on each bill that gets sent, but also provides that tracking information back to your staff for your review. The fourth and final most important service to evaluate is address correction. If you've ever printed and mailed your statements in-house, you know that sometimes addressing them is hard. What seems to be so simple ultimately isn't. Sending mail to the correct address requires accuracy and up-to-date information. Manually writing or entering addresses onto envelopes opens up the potential for many mistakes along the way. There are thousands of silly mistakes that could happen to your patient's addresses before you've even sent it. Many of these mistakes simply can't happen when considering how important these documents are to your practice. Switching to a patient statement services vendor cuts down on the risks of mailing to the wrong place, but not by 100%. Sure, your team no longer has to worry about physically addressing the envelope incorrectly as your vendor takes on that responsibility. However, that doesn't mean you'll never get return statements again. Each month, your vendor will still require a list of information from your staff in order to create and mail your patient's bills. As you might have guessed, addresses are a listed item within the data that they're asking from you. Thus, typos are still bound to happen during the entering process. This is avoidable through address correction and skip tracing services. Address correction and skip tracing adds an additional step to the mailing process that checks and corrects locational data. At its most rudimentary stage, it checks for misspellings and formatting errors. You watching this video tells me that you're looking to outsource your patient statement services. That's a good thing. However, it can be a long and arduous process if you don't know what specific features to look for in the vendors you're evaluating. Think about the objective you're trying to accomplish and understand what features will help solve that goal. In order to find the right patient statement services vendor for your organization, you'll need to see past all of the marketing mumbo jumbo and know the key features to look for. If you'd like to learn more about the best features to look for when evaluating patient statement service vendors, reach out to eTactics. And you already made it this far into the video, so you might as well like it, share it, and comment below. Well, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to our YouTube channel.